Okay, and we're live here at the Gulf Coast Industry Forum hosted by the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region, and I'm joined by my friend Carrie Phillips, plant manager for the Orange, Texas facility for CP Chem. So, Carrie, how are you doing? Thank you so much for being on the panel.
Absolutely. It's good to see you again.
It is always great to see you, and thank you for being here. So, we were just talking about what's going on in the petrochemical market, and you seem to know a little bit about that. I did want to get a quick update on the Golden Triangle Polymers project. Just tell us where that project is.
Absolutely. So, you and I have talked before. It's right across the street from my plant, which is the OG, the original. But it's on track for a mid-2026 start. It's very exciting. World scale ethylene, world scale 2 polyethylene loops. They are ready to rock and roll here in another year.
About a year or so.
Yep.
Okay. And no tie-in to your site.
No. I know a lot of people are interested in that, especially my own site. But no, we make some resins that they won't make over across the street. They certainly make ethylene, which can go into the pipeline, but that doesn't necessarily come to our site.
Thank you for that update, Carrie. So let's talk about sustainability initiatives. I mean, y'all invested in the HEAL vacuum system and the flaring project.
Yeah.
Just talk about that. It's done now, but tell me about how that investment went and why is it so valuable?
So here at the panel, I talked a little bit about managing plastic and the importance of managing plastic. So for our public's view of what we do.
Sure.
And so we often get rail car. We send, our job is to make a whole lot of plastic and send it out in rail cars to customers. Unfortunately, our customers don't always empty those rail cars. And so they send them back with what we call heels. So we can have thousands and thousands of pounds of heels still in these rail cars. And the way our plants were built was we just used to wash those out down into sumps and then try to collect them. But the amount of heels that are coming back, the amount of rail cars we send out and get back, that was not enough anymore. So what we invested in was what we call a rail car heel recovery. And so it's really just a vacuum system. It's a big vacuum system. And we take all those heels out and we put them in another rail car so that we can sell them at a higher price, basically selling the product twice.
Okay. Wow. And then talk about the flaring as well. What was that about?
So flaring, one of the questions we talked about here in the panel was how are we protecting our environment? And one of the opportunities at my plant is to reduce flaring. And that's really to make sure that you keep your recovery units online, so making sure those are reliable, and then looking for ways to reduce streams to go to the flare. The other thing that we've also looked at is how do we reduce just nitrogen going to the flare, natural gas going to the flare, finding ways to make ourselves more efficient.
Awesome, Carrie. Thanks for that update. So, natural next question is: any other investments that are announced, may be announced? Where do you see things in the next, year or two?
Yeah. So for our plant, the real focus is on making sure that we're staying reliable. So our investment is on making sure that our equipment is running well. Making sure that we are doing the best we can with what we have from a profitability. So honestly, with very little investment, we've increased our production capabilities, we've increased our on-spec, and that's all about human resources. That's getting all the right brains in the room and saying, how do we solve these complex challenges that have been bugging us? And that's what we've been doing. But we got to get those 2 big projects up and going before we start talking about the future.
I gotcha. No worries. So we'll keep us updated when they are. So you're kind of alluding to this, but what strategies or innovations have driven most recent operational milestones and talk about that polyethylene production and what continues to drive that growth?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a tough market right now. It's low margins. We've got oversupply. So we have to, it's a commodity market, so we have to do everything we can to make the most out of what we have. And we have to do it safely every single day. Yep. Because the moment you have a big event, your brand is toast. So we make sure that what we do is bring the right smart people, not just our own plant. We bring in engineers from our global process engineering group. We get them sitting down and we say, okay, we have this constraint. What can we do about it? A lot of times we can make changes that have almost no investment at all, and we get rid of that constraint. Now we're operating safely, we're making more product, and we're making better quality product. And that means more profitability in the end.
That's right, Carrie. I'm going to dig into a couple more things, and then we'll let you go. You mentioned performance by design and prioritizing high-value work. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Yeah.
So performance by design, we started this with CP Chem back really in 2017, and it's really about getting the ideas at the front line. Folks that are doing the work, how can we do it safer? How can we do it with spending less money, How can we do it more efficient? We've had a whole process around this, but in the last year, we've really started focusing on some very specific areas in this space that we believe drive more value. And so I mentioned reliability. How do we make sure that we're inputting all the right technology so that we're looking at data around rotating equipment and making sure that we know how it's operating long term so that we can plan outages and it doesn't plan it for us, right? So that's one way, making sure that we're focusing on quality of our product, but also how do we reduce third-party spend? How do we have opportunities to spend less money for things that are not maybe the highest priority? And so one of the things that we're really talking about is making sure all of our folks are working on the stuff that's really adding value and maybe not the stuff that's not as high of a priority.
And that's fascinating, Carrie. With that, I'll ask another question. Let's talk about technology. That data you're getting back from that equipment, you're using AI, sometimes that's overblown, right? But what are y'all doing in that regard?
So in the industry, in the chemical industry space, and really in the refining industry space too, there's some really exciting and there's some great case studies on this where vibration monitoring, simple monitoring that comes into a data system that you can trend how your extruder's running, how your compressor's running. That's really the leading indicators that help us understand what's happening in that equipment internally, and then we can plan for maintenance rather than it shutting down.
Preventative maintenance and reliability.
Exactly.
Okay, Carrie. Well, I only got one more question for you, and it's most important. We all know that you were a gymnast as a kid. Are you down with heading to the parking lot right now? I want to do some round-offs. Let's do some round-offs. I'm just saying, we got the...
So I can still do a cartwheel in a straight line, but we're not going to do it on film because, I'm in heels today. So
well, next time.
Next time. Yep. You get me next time.
Carrie, you're the best. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here at the Gulf Coast Industry Forum.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining BIC Magazine.
Absolutely. Thank y'all.